Have at it.
All right. First of all, thanks everybody for joining this class. I hope it's beneficial. As you've been told, there will be a Q&A at the end of it. All questions will be typed into the chat, and then the moderator will ask me, and we will get as many done as possible. Afterwards, if you come up with something later, I am the Kingdom of Calontir chatelaine, and you'll be able to email me at chatelaine at calontir.org. So currently we are on the Kingdom of Calontir webpage. This is where everything starts for our kingdom, and if you were to uh, start this in your kingdom or something similar, this is what I would suggest you do. At the very top in the navigation bar across the banner, you'll see a section that says newcomers, and that would attract their attention, and you go to newcomers. And this really welcomes them to our kingdom as well as the SCA. The Chatelaine email address is on here. And then next, there's a link that says interested in more information. And this is where the bulk of this class goes. This will load up a Google form, which all Kingdom Chatelaines have access to create since we have all gone to the Google Suite for Kingdom email and whatnot. Um, and the form is a data collection piece. Basically, newcomers and or Kingdom Chatelaines or local group Chatelaines can all use this form. Obviously, there are different levels of comfort with tech, and if you're at a demo or something like that, some people may not be comfortable filling something like this out. They may not be comfortable doing it on their phone, though the form is really easy and can be done on a phone. We've tested it several times that way, and it works pretty well. So we're going to do a test form, and then I'll show you what that leads to and how we use this data that we collect from this. So for name, we'll just put in Chatelaine. In working with our DEI, we will answer what our preferred pronouns are. Put our email address in for ourselves so that our Chatelaine can reach out to us after we turn the form in. And then this drop-down box has all the groups in our kingdom. I know that I live in Wichita, Kansas, the barony of Batavia. Unfortunately, it's the last one, so it makes it really simple for me. And then this last question is just asking for general information. What are they interested in? So I do armored combat. I also do rapier combat. I'm a chef. And I have a guide dog. Really, they can put any amount of information in there. Some people won't feel like putting anything in there, and that is completely fine. It's really up to them and what they want to share with us. And then this final question is, are you a newcomer or a group chatelaine? What I do as the Kingdom Chatelaine is I get each one of these forms and it exports to a spreadsheet, which I'll show you up next. And if it says that they're a group chatelaine, then I'm not going to, I will send them the welcome letter that goes along with this, but I will not uh, be pressing to make sure that the local group chatelaine has contact with them because they filled out the form for that person. So I'm going to mark that and I'll hit submit. So it's that quick, that easy. Now where this goes is this spreadsheet. Has a timestamp, has all of this information. Now this happens for each form that gets turned in. It has all the information we need. A couple of very great things on here are the group, what group they want to be a part of, what they would be preferred to be called, along with their preferred pronouns, and then any activities that they are interested in. Those are the business pieces that we really want to get out of this. After each year, at the very bottom, there's tabs. So for 2023, which this was started in October of this year, I have all the entries sent over to the 2023 tab after I've contacted the person directly from the Kingdom Chatelaine email address. The purpose of that is to make sure that we don't cross up and send them multiple welcome letters because nobody wants to get their email box completely flooded with email letters, right? And then where that heads to is I have in my Google Drive for our Kingdom Chatelaine, I have a welcome letter that was a form letter that I created. And with that form letter, I made a version of it for each one of my local groups. It's really simple because it's all, once you create one, you make a bunch of copies. And the only thing I had to edit is I've got some email addresses and links to their personal web pages and even some of their social media pages if they have them. And that's on each welcome letter. And then this is a version of what that email looks like. So each person that sends in a form will get a version of this email from me. It welcomes them. I also copy their local group, Chatelaine and or Seneschal, sometimes both, or if they don't have a Chatelaine for like a Shire, we will send it to their Seneschal. It welcomes them to the SCA, lets them know a little bit of information about us. My text I actually took from our newcomers page because it was very well done when it was created. And at the very bottom, there are links to their local group. So there's a link to the Batavian webpage for this one that I sent myself based on the form we created earlier. And there's also the SCA homepage, things like that. And at the very bottom, before I sign off, I make sure to establish that I'm not just leaving them to the wolves. They can contact me anytime should they need some further assistance. And then I also make a note to their kingdom representative about what their name is, if they have any preferred pronouns they would like to be called by, and any information about what they are interested in, because that helps our local groups establish that connection. And also, if they are interested in, say, doing heraldry, well, when they reach out to that person, they'll probably contact their local group herald on that email. So we're getting them to the right people through the process. So with all of that said and done, things that we are using this system for. Since I have sent this email to each person that's turned in a form, they are now in my address book for this Gmail account for the Kingdom Chatelaine of Calontir, which means I can create an address book for all newcomers for 2023, and it will bring up all of them. At that point, I have started, actually will be starting in January of 2024, teaching a monthly class or having a peer or other qualified individual teach a newcomers class for on virtual using Google Meets, because again, we have the Google Suite. That information, all that information that we gathered on what they're interested in, whether it be blacksmithing, archery, sewing, fiber arts, anything like that, we have that information. So it kind of helps us form what classes we want and what classes they want to learn. And that way, if they have trouble making it to local group meetings, or say it's somebody who lives 2 hours, 3 hours from their nearest local group and they haven't started their own group yet, at least there's these virtual classes so they can get to know us as a kingdom. They can get to know me and the other teachers as well as other attendees because I encourage all the kingdom to show up when they can if they're interested in something. Part of that class each month is designed to have a question and answer. That could be any question they have, not just about the class that's being taught. All of those classes are actually scheduled through the Google account on the Kingdom Chatelaine calendar. And then I hand over, it creates this nice little, on this date, at this time, this class, description of class is being taught. And I send that to my social media officer, and they post it all over Facebook and Instagram and Discord, and they publicize it for me. So I don't even have to do that work. They're very kind to work with, very easy to work with, and they're a lot faster at it than I would be. Furthermore, I see where each local group is doing with recruitment. So while this is a tool designed to help with retention, I can see where some other groups might be doing very well with recruitment, and I can reach out and see what they're doing. And I can also help other groups say, hey, how are you guys doing with recruitment? Have you tried doing these things? It gives me a very good overall view of how we're doing with recruitment. And then through doing the classes and also maybe a quarterly meet with all of our newcomers from the last year, we can see how we're doing with retention. Because a lot of times we lose people just because we don't make contact during winter months or during when things really in war season get going and it's very busy. Sometimes we start letting people slip through the cracks. And if we just reach out to them, let them know we're thinking about them, a lot of times that can help them stay with us. And really, that's the goal of all of the Chatelaine office is to get new people to us and then make sure that they become family. So that's pretty much my presentation. Please, if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat, and our lovely moderator will ask me, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. And as I said, if you have any other questions that come up, feel free to email me. I will get back to you usually within 2 to 3 days. So.
One of the questions that we have, Otter, is do we know if all of the SCA has access to Google Suite? Like all the kingdoms?
As far as I know, after the pandemic, and this may be a states thing, so I don't know about overseas. Drakkenwald and Locock, I don't know exactly what they're doing,
Mhm.
but each kingdom went to using Google as their main driving force, which is why, um, like Calontir.org uses Google, uh, King Atenvelt uses Google. We all use Google. And actually, the local groups are also supposed to be threaded through Google.
Mhm.
Um, so, like in my kingdom, the Barony of Batavia, their email address for their chatelaine is chatelaine@batavia.calontir.org. And that connects them to the Google Suite and the Google account through the SCA.
Mhm. And I would say the same thing for Atenville. All of our emails run through the Google Suite. We do a lot with docs and spreadsheets. Forms are a lot of fun. So I know here in Atenville we use the Google Suite. I'm gonna say I want to say Francesca, but the CES is throwing me off.
Francisca?
Yeah, Francisca. What kingdom are you from?
So currently, I live in the Kingdom of Calontir, which is Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, and a sliver of Arkansas that's known as Fayetteville. However, I have been in 6 kingdoms. I started in 1999 in the Kingdom of the Middle and traveled through Meridies and Ansteora and Calontir and then the Outlands and back to Calontir.
So do we know if Atlantia has their kingdom does the Google?
As far as I know from the meetings that I've done during the setup of this Known World Chatelaine Symposium,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay.
Now the University of Atlanta, that whole thing may not be under it. I am not sure, and I'm not a part of that group, so I'm not entirely certain.
What would you recommend for someone who wants to find out?
I would go to their Kingdom webpage for Atlantia, and I would reach out to either their Kingdom Chatelaine or their Kingdom Webminister. Both those people will be able to help them.
Okay, those are great. Another question is, how does this tool work best at demos or public events? Do you have a QR code for them to do it on their phones? Do you ever use paper forms and enter the data later?
So what we've done, at least in my kingdom, is I go to the public relations officer of the kingdom. They have all of the approved by the SCA printed materials from the SCA, whether it be signs, bookmarks, business cards, whatever. And if you don't like what you see, you can create your own, but then you need to get your media relations officer to approve it because there's very strict and standardized rules for how we do these things. But I did take a pre-existing SCA sign and also some pre-existing bookmarks and put the QR code. And since it is a Kingdom page that it goes to our Kingdom form, they approved it right away, and we can hand them out at demos. Also, the signage. I've also started trying to get moving signs for our baronies so they can stick them out at fighter practice.
Mm.
So that if people are going by and saying, hey, that looks really cool, and necessarily there's not a chatelaine there or somebody who's real comfortable speaking to people, they can at least direct them over and say, hey, if you go over and click that QR code, they'll bring you to a form, you fill that out, and we will get you to the right people to help you get started in what we do.
Awesome. Lots of feedback in the chat. Awesome. Great info. That's a great idea. So thank you. I never thought to talk to the Kingdom PR person because now I'm like, does Atenvelt have a PR person? I love creating printed material. I should probably talk to my seneschal about this.
Yes, and your kingdom you talk to your local seneschal first, and then
Yeah,
your kingdom seneschal can always direct you.
awesome. Just an extra bit of information.
Absolutely. Always go local first because, those people have really big fish to fry.
Yeah, good point.